Hello and Minglava, welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Ministry of Health and Sports alerts people to prevent COVID-19 second wave. Wonderful news for us all, Mingun to reopen its religious structures before long. Rice distribution now available through online with market for ready-made rice bags. And a story coverage on commodity market that's facing high demand but with lower prices. Stay with me on Myanmar Today for the reports, but let's take a look at the local news now. Vice President U Henry Van Theo, in his capacity as the chairman of National Disaster Management Committee, inspected damages to embankments near Shui Ge Wastewater Treatment Facility, the Strand Road, and rescue camps in Amarapura Township, Mandalay region, and instructed officials on providing assistance for renovation work Monday. The Vice President and party also witnessed the damages of Shui Ge Wastewater Treatment Facility, the Strand Road, and rescue camps where the flood victims are temporarily accommodated. During his meeting with the people, the Vice President remarked that environmental degradation cannot be avoided and more challenges are expected in the following years. The Vice President encouraged people not to feel upset about it, but to take care of health at the rescue camps and offered to keep providing assistance to the flood victims. The Vice President, the Union Ministers and the Deputy Ministers then provided relief assistance to the evacuated families. A coordination meeting to make the voters list in Yangon region more accurate was organized at the Yangon region government office Monday morning. Union Minister for Labour, Immigration and Population, U Thein Sui, said that the government is exerting great efforts to safeguard the right to vote of every eligible voter. The regional election sub-commissions, the General Administration Departments and the Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population are collaborating to compile accurate voters' list. He stressed that Myanmar nationals staying in foreign nations must not lose their rights to vote, so the ministry is collaborating with relevant Myanmar embassies. He also said that the departments concerned are working together to guarantee the right to vote of Myanmar migrant workers who recently came back to Myanmar. Union Minister for Education, Dr. Myo Thain-ji, and Union Minister for Health and Sports, Dr. Myen Tway, presided over the coordination meeting of the two ministries Monday for reopening schemes of high schools which were suspended due to the outbreak of COVID-19. The meeting discussed the ranking of schools in order of 3 levels based on the findings in checklists for the readiness of reopening, recommendations of region or state health officers, the formation of inspection teams at the schools, and the works of supervising teams at the levels of the township, region, and states. The meeting, which was attended by 40 senior officials, also decided to reopen 3,772 high schools under Level A as scheduled on the 21st of July, followed by 1,220 schools under Level B and 838 schools under Level C. The two ministries also agreed to conduct inspections of teams comprised of officials with the General Administration Department, Public Health Department, officials of Naypyidaw Council and state or region governments, and representatives of teachers and parents. Chin State Minister for Agriculture, Livestock Breeding, Forestry and Mines, U Mang Han, inspected construction works at Lower Lava Dam, the third dam in the Chin State, on Sunday. The dam construction group official of the Ha Min Sui Company, which has been carrying out the construction project, explained the stages of the construction of the dam and the benefits that can bring to the residents, and the Chin State Minister and officials then inspected the dam. By using the budget of 3,038 million kyats, the construction work for Lower Lava Dam commenced on the 1st of June 2019. The construction was 100% completed on 30th of June 2020. The Lower Lava Dam will be able to supply 300,000 to 800,000 gallons of water per day to about 50,000 residents in Phalam Township. Households from 4 wards in Amarapura Township were evacuated to a safe place Sunday night after the water from Ayeyarwady River likely to inundate the wards following a sluice gate broke at the Shui Gate wastewater treatment plant on Mandalay Zagain Road in Yintor Village Tract, Amarapura Township, Mandalay region. Union Minister for Social Welfare Relief and Resettlement, Dr. Wimya A, visited the flood relief camps Monday morning. He donated cash to buy rice and food for the flood victims and also provided COVID-19 preventive supplies. Following the inundation of the river, Mandalay Zagain Road was damaged and the water from Ayeyarwady River flew into Nankak Lake. The Union Minister also supervised and coordinated activities to stop the river water flowing into the lake. A relief flight by Myanmar Airways International, bringing back 134 Myanmar nationals, 121 are from Australia and New Zealand, and 13 are from Indonesia, landed at the Yangon International Airport at 8:30 p.m. Monday, as well as a charter flight by Myanmar National Airline, bringing back 51 Myanmar seamen from Singapore Changi Airport, also landed at the same time. After cooperation with Myanmar embassies in Canberra and Jakarta, Myanmar authorities could arrange the MAI relief flight to bring back the 134 Myanmar nationals. Similarly, after the cooperation between Myanmar authorities, the Myanmar Seafarers Employment Services Federation, the relevant shipping companies, and the Myanmar Embassy in Singapore, a total of 51 Myanmar seamen who needed crew change after their contracts had expired were able to be brought back by the MNA charter flight. That's Over the Look News, and we'll dive right into our first report now. The number of COVID-19 confirmed cases in Myanmar reached 341 with 278 recoveries and 6 fatalities till Monday. Although the local transmission is almost under control, the Ministry of Health and Sports alerts the people to stay with cautiousness since the country is accepting overseas returnees and the confirmed cases are found among the returnees. Here's a report.
The Ministry of Health and Sports alerted the public that there can be lesser risks for a second wave of COVID-19 local infection if people continue to follow the basic health guidelines. However, it is the nature of people that they become careless when the local infections has not been found for about a month. In Myanmar, there are 341 confirmed cases with 278 recoveries and 6 deaths as of 20th July. It has been nearly 4 months since the first confirmed cases were found. The experts said that it is quite lesser in number than expected. People are running the daily routine for the livelihood, and some people are acting as if the disease had completely disappeared. People do not always wear masks, and some wear in the wrong way. They are weak in washing hands frequently and systematically. Social distancing cannot be practiced in the crowded cities. Ujojoton, the regional Lotto representative from Line Township, said.
During nearly 4 months, the recovery rate of our country is about 75%, and most of them are discharged from the hospital. The death rate has stopped at 6 fatalities. In Yangon, there has been no local transmission for about 2 months. We have to reflect that we could successfully overcome the first wave because of the collaboration of government and citizens. We have to keep this work in right path. We have to be alerted all the time because the schools are to reopen soon.
The Ministry of Health and Sports reported that the global situation is not in good condition. The global infection is nearly reaching 15 million and the fatalities get over 600,000. Especially Myanmar's neighboring countries are in high risk. India is the third most infected country with over 1 million confirmed cases, and Bangladesh has over 200,000 confirmed cases. Moreover, Myanmar is accepting returnees from foreign countries, including India and Bangladesh, and even from the United States, which has the highest number of infection in the world. Receiving the returnees poses the challenges to prevent the imported cases that can become the local transmission. Handling thousands of people entering the country to be put into quarantine is not the easy job, and what challenges more is the illegal entering through border areas. The case 339, who is infected when picking up his friend illegally entering the country, rings alarm of the local transmission. Dr. Tanaiso, Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division of Ministry of Health and Sports, said.
The
Ministry of Health and Sports repeatedly announced that the returnees have high risk of infection and those who pick up the returnees can also be infected. Then their family, even the whole village, will be put under risk of virus spread. Especially the western border area needs more inspection. We request them to enter only if the government accepts officially. If they enter illegally, we need to know as soon as they arrive in the country so that we can put them into quarantine. This is for the goodwill of others and themselves. We do not want the imported cases to lead to local transmission.
It needs to be reminded that if the returnees come to the crowded cities without staying in the quarantine, that can has high percentage of local transmission. This is because the people are going outside to work and earn money without the proper circumstances for social distancing. Uwenai, the taxi driver from the Gongmyote North Township, said.
Some people wear masks, but some do not, because they are not used to wearing masks. For me, as I have to contact with many people, I put mask when carrying the passengers, but I do not wear it when I'm alone. The income is not that good like previous time. We are afraid of the virus, but we have to still look for our livelihood.
Being a developing country, people have to struggle a lot for a living, and being able to control the first wave in a short amount of time is a privilege for Myanmar people. However, it is still necessary to prevent the second wave of virus infection, which can bring more severe impacts.
That's a report on the Ministry of Health and Sports alerting people to prevent COVID-19 second wave. We'll move on to the next report. The regional government has instructed the residents to reopen the religious structures in Mingun soon, in line with the health guidelines by the Ministry of Health and Sports. Sotwe and Pyotiridu will tell us more.
The pagodas, considered as a kind of public place, have been closed since early April as part of government's precautionary measures to mitigate the spread of coronavirus within the country. The living of the residents whose businesses are related to domestic and inbound tourism has been severely affected by the closure of the businesses due to the impact of the COVID-19. Mingun area, which is known for its large monuments and stupas, is one of the most prominent figures which show how the closure impacts on the living of the residents. Speaking to MI Radio, Dawin Ma'u, a street vendor who sells regional cuisine, said her livings amid COVID-19.
The roads crowded with visitors are no longer congested. The vendors are also very depressed as the sales are dropping down. I wish we could overcome this disease as soon as possible.
Dotindin Tue is a small restaurant owner who sells Kodang Monti, a famous rice noodle salad cuisine. Speaking to MI Radio about the current living of the residents, she said,
Our
small restaurant in this Kodang village is usually crowded with the visitors, especially at weekends. But the sales are not going well and the living is found hard during this day. We pray for an end to the infection of the virus. Only when the disease is over, the businesses of all the restaurants and businesses in our village and the region will recover. We heard that the pagoda will be reopened and the visitor will be allowed soon. But the restrictions have been extended to another 15 days. But we wish the Board of Trustees and the officials to allow reopening. Unless the pagodas open and the visitors are allowed, our businesses will not go well enough.
The regional government has instructed the religious structures in Mingun area to reopen soon in accordance with the two main instructions. Buddhist monk Badana Nandima is a patron of Board of Trustees in Mingun area. Speaking to MI Radio about preparation of reopening religious structures in Mingun area in accordance with the health guidelines, he said,
The regional government has instructed a statement to reopen the pagodas in Mingun. These instructions include mainly two regulations. The first regulation is to take the advice from CROG and to follow health guidelines by the Ministry of Health and Sports. The residents, the shopkeepers, and the Board of Trustees are also taking the advice from CROG here, and this is the third time for today. So it can be said that the first regulation is almost finished. For the second regulation, we are preparing for the implementation of health guidelines. These inspection processes have already started and new hand wash basins are set up, and sufficient number of hand sanitizers and face masks have also been prepared. The street vendors, shopkeepers, and restaurants are also educated for all these health guidelines that they have to follow. The vinyl and signboards with health guidelines are also erected around the roads and in public places.
Seattle Unandima also claimed that the religious structures in Mingun area will be reopened and the visitors will be allowed once the preparations had been finished. The preparations are going to finish within a few days.
That's a report on Mingun to reopen its religious structures before long. More reports coming up later. Stay with us. Online distribution becomes more popular among food lovers and housewives as a simple, safe, and convenient way to buy ready-made foods, groceries, and even the basic foodstuffs within a couple of months. Rice, the most fundamental staple food for Myanmar people, is also purchased and distributed online. Hyo Tiritu and Sueman will tell us more.
Online distribution gradually plays a trendy way to purchase the clothes and facilities over the last few years. Amid COVID-19, only limited people are allowed to go outside within the limited hours. Then, within a couple of months, the online distribution became more popular among food lovers and housewives as a simple, safe, and convenient way to buy ready-made foods, groceries, and even the basic foodstuffs. Rice, the most fundamental food of Myanmar people, is also purchased and distributed through online. U Winsau, the owner of Emya Chanda Rice Distribution, spoke to Ama Radio that they have focused on rice distribution in local retail market, and their experience of online distribution and feedback from the customers.
The
government stopped buying reserve rice, and so the price of rice bag is rising, 500 kyats per rice bag, and most of the rice export are suspended in the current situation. So the distributors are focusing on local retail market now. In the wake of COVID-19, people don't want to go out frequently just to buy grocery, but want the quality products with reasonable price at the same time. Online distribution is low cost and least delay in method of purchasing rice. For us, we don't take any delivery fees while sending the rice bags. The customers' feedback is also good as they got the same quality rice with the same price in the market and home delivery system.
Last 3 months, the demand for rice was really high in the market as many people did panic buying. Uwensau also mentioned that the supply chain for rice market does not change so much as the local consumers are normally consuming the rice despite no rice export. Not only the updated distribution method, the suppliers also produce ready-made rice bags with packing the rice in the market. Uang Tan-u, chairman of Myanmar Rice Federation, added his comment on this case.
The low-quality rice can't be produced by the value-added ready-made rice bag. It will cost more after packing, and the consumers cannot afford to pay for that. The high-quality rice like Balsan is possible to be value-added. Even the high-quality rice is value-added, and it will be for some groups of people at the supermarket. The other retail shop and the traditional market will remain the same. The consumers will buy the products with reasonable price more. The medium and small rice bags can be seen in the market for the convenience of the consumers.
The governmental departments have cooperated with the rice associations to stabilize the rice price since the start of COVID-19 outbreak, creating the situation for the donors who can buy the rice as much as they can. The equal ground could be created between the growers and the sellers. The experts expected that the future world would see a rise of food demand. Myanmar is an agricultural country. Local experts predict that if Myanmar carries out agriculture systematically, it will have favorable market prospects. I am Pyodiritu. This is news reporting from MR Radio.
And we have one last report on the commodity market. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Currently, the commodity market in Myanmar is facing high supplies but at a lower price. Despite being the essential basic items, the sale is not catching up to that before the COVID-19 outbreak. Changes in the price of basic commodities as well as supply and demand conditions of the market have an impact on inflation of the country. Here's a report.
The domestic commodities market is currently experiencing high supplies but lower prices. The panic buying occurred at the beginning of COVID-19 local outbreak leads to lesser in demand, which causes the goods to decrease in prices. Changes in the price of basic commodities as well as supply and demand conditions have an impact on inflation. U Aung Min, Secretary of Market Research Association, said,
Central Statistical Organization releases inflation report every month. In 2019, the inflation rate increased month by month for about 9% to 10%. However, after the outbreak of COVID-19, the demand dropped, so did the price. The inflation rate in April of this year was about 5.24%. This is because of price drop in commodities and fuels. Freshwater prawns and fish, chicken and goat meat, which are originally of high price, are still in high pricing. But we have different kind of meat, vegetable and fruits available in the market. However, this year the GDP of the country could be lower than expected, 6.3%.
There is still the market for the commodities because it is the essential basic items compared to other kinds of goods. Many sellers are competing for sales as well as services. And some also provide home delivery services in order to be able to secure a place. Mawiwidu, shop owner at Tengji Market, said,
It is unpredictable. Before we were doing a great deal, but later on the sales dropped. As it is food, we managed to sell a little, but it is not too bad. The commodity prices dropped slightly, and so there were more sellers than buyers. For the time being, the price of onion and garlic drops, which is common at this time around. But we can expect the price hike in the rainy season and the Lent period. The price fluctuation is highly unpredictable since there is no donation event this year. Some prioritize door-to-door delivery services so that they get more customers.
Compared to the same period last year, the consumer price index has increased. Data shows that price index in January 2020 for food group is recorded at 172.65%, 144.97% for non-food group, and 161.33% for all groups. The 2020 index shows a 9.09% increase compared to the same period in 2019. This is because the commodities price included in the list increased significantly. Matatamon, a fishmonger at the number 26th Street, said,
Sale is now good and it's cold. At present, there is an increased sale in prawns. During the previous months of the COVID-19 outbreak, people stay inside and now more people are coming out. But the sale has not returned to the normal yet. Of course, we're afraid of the virus, but we have to work for a living. I use protective items as well as hand sanitizer frequently. I hope that the sales will be getting better and better, but there is no such guarantee.
Annually, Myanmar's GDP is averagely about 6 to 7%. For this year, the GDP is predicted to be lower than normal, according to the market experts. The local market researchers have done analysis for GDP development by service, industrial, and agricultural sectors. For the market calculation, in 2012 survey, 438 public service and goods, 108 foodstuffs, 166 non-foodstuffs are counted as the basic.
And that's all we have for today's reports. And here's the international news on Myanmar Today. The flood situation triggered by monsoon rains in India's northeastern state Assam escalated on Sunday, according to local officials, leaving 24 districts heavily flooded. The number of deaths increased to 84, with 5 more deaths reported on Sunday. A similar situation also prevails in its neighboring country, Nepal, where the flood forecasting section of Department of Hydrology and Meteorology has issued warnings urging people living along the riverbanks and lowland areas Terai, southern Nepal, to move to safe sites due to possibility of floods. Torrential rains during the annual monsoon season between June and September caused floods, landslides, and lightning strikes across the region, with hundreds dying every year. So far, nearly 4 million people in this region have been displaced, with dozens missing as deaths rose to at least 189. In other news, a spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Britain said Tuesday China strongly opposes the UK's wrong remarks on the national security law for the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region and decision to interfere in China's internal affairs. The response came after the UK decided to suspend the Hong Kong extradition treaty indefinitely and place it under an arms embargo. The spokesman said in a statement that China urges the UK side to immediately stop interfering in Hong Kong affairs in any form, adding that the UK will bear the consequences if it insists on going down the wrong road. Egypt's parliament gave President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi the green light for possible military intervention in Libya by approving the deployment of armed forces abroad to fight terrorist groups and militias. A sharp military escalation in Libya, where fighters led by Eastern Commander Khalifa Haftar have been battling the forces of the internationally recognized government, could risk igniting a direct conflict among the foreign powers that have poured in weapons and fighters in violation of an arms embargo. Sisi warned last week that Egypt would not stand idle if there was a threat to national security in Egypt and its western neighbor, Libya. In other news, US President Donald Trump, who for months refused to encourage mask wearing as a way to combat the coronavirus, on Monday tweeted a picture of himself with his face covered and touted his patriotism. The accompanying picture showed Trump wearing a dark mask with the presidential seal. The stylish photo and exhortation for Americans to unite around masks were a far cry from Trump's longtime mocking of masks as symbols of weakness during a pandemic that he has repeatedly suggested is overblown. However, his tweet stopped well short of endorsing calls from some for a nationwide mandate to wear masks in public. The nation's top medical authorities, backed by several leading Republican figures, say that mask wearing is crucial to halting the disease. Experts warn severe drought that has caused water levels in Southeast Asia's Mekong River to drop to their lowest in more than 100 years could have devastating consequences for fish, as well as the tens of millions of people living and working along the river. The crisis began when critical monsoon rains, which usually start in late May in the Mekong region, failed to arrive. We have a video report here. Let's take a look.
300 kilometers upstream of the Mekong is the village of Nannuoshan in China's Yunnan province. Locals rely heavily on cultivating pu'er tea. But rising temperatures and the lowest rainfall in decades have reduced the output.
The annual output of my tea plantation in 2018 is 150 kilograms, but in 2019 it was reduced by 2/3 to 56 kilograms. This year I only harvested 36 kilograms, a loss of 3/4. My father is more than 80 years old. He said he's never experienced such a drought. It's the very first time.
Residents here face a severe water shortage when the drought hit in 2019. It took half a year to discover alternative sources until they found this is now supporting 25 families along with 4 agri-product factories. Across the entire province, water shortage caused by drought has affected over 1 million people. The lingering drought cut off some 100 rivers in Yunnan province, drying up nearly 200 reservoirs. Latest study shows the annual rainfall of 2019 in the Lancang River Basin is about 25% lower than its long-term average. And across the Lancang-Mekong River Basin, the year 2019 recorded the most severe drought in over a century.
The reduced rainfall and drought in Yunnan province will have a great impact on the surface runoff. If the surface runoff is less, it affects the river's water flow.
The after effects of the drought continues to plague China and some Mekong countries. The poor tea production may need 3 to 5 years for a full recovery. In Changsang, some farmers find it difficult to pump water for their crops.
I need to have very long pipes to pump water, and I need to pump very often for watering my crops. My harvest is not 100%. Some of my crops have died.
The Lancang Mekong countries are now conducting a joint study on the 2019 drought and low water flows. The findings will help improve data sharing, promote coordination, and ensure more effective responses to droughts and water flow issues. Meng Qingsheng, CGTN, Yunnan Province.
And that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Stay safe and stay protected, everyone. I'll see you again.